Hello, this is Genet with ByoNetics. It is the 13th of May 2014 at 3 p.m. in the afternoon. I want to talk about the cost of ByoNetics. I have several parents who've talked to me about the cost and trying to understand how we arrive at our cost. And originally, Bio, maybe I should explain that ByoNetics uh, repairs the damaged developmental switches that connect the brain computer to its software. It has done it through brainwave frequencies. We originally uh, provided that technology on brainwave machines. Parents had to fly to where our clinic was at, check into a hotel, bring their child to our clinic for a minimum of 2 weeks, an average of 3 to 4 weeks. The problem was by the time we paid for travel, the hotel, clinic time, stuff like that on the brainwave machines, the cost averaged around $10,000. It was just too expensive. I had plenty of families attending, but they only represented about 1/2 of 1% of the total amount of families who had children with autism at that time. Everything changed when we developed cranial dynamics. Cranial dynamics allows us to computer engineer a brainwave machine and download it onto a separate CD disk. There's 7 main developmental switches, so there's a CD disk that contains a brainwave machine that repairs that particular developmental switch. Right. So you have a lot of technology on a that's my dog Leroy. Uh, you have a lot of technology uh, on a CD disk, and it changed the face of autism. Before, you could only manage autism, right? You had to accept that your child was autistic. You had to arrange for the long-term care. There wasn't very many choices. Now with ByoNetics and cranial dynamics, you didn't have to travel to a clinic and spend $10,000. You could use it um, as in-home technology. The CDs are played when the child is going to sleep, and so the the cost in engineering those CDs is what we charge. If I go into an engineering studio and have the technician engineer me a developmental CD, right? That CD is going to cost me over $300. If he engineers several CDs at a time, then that price proportionally goes down to the number of CDs that I can afford to have him engineer. Right. Right now, that cost is at $54.50 a CD. Realizing that this is not a music CD, this is a computer engineered brainwave machine that's downloaded onto a CD disk. Right. There's a lot of technology on this disk. There's a lot of engineering that goes into it, and you have to have the exact frequency, brainwave frequency, to repair that particular developmental switch. And it can only be done on a computer, but we have to pay for the engineering cost of that. That's why that CD is $54.50 a CD, and the price changes about every 3 months because we go through a set of CDs by providing them to the public, and then we have to go in and determine what the cost is going to be. At one time, when we first started the technology, the cost was something like $90 a CD. Then we brought it down proportionally over time to where it's about $54.50 a CD. There's 10 CDs, so it's $545.50 for all of the technology. Right? If you compare that to other forms of therapy, like ABA, Applied Behavior Analysis, that's if you do the full program, that's around a little over $60,000 a year. If you do half the program, it's $32,000 a year. They have the mini version that they teach in school, ABA therapy. Right? You can have different sound therapies that charge a lot of money. They use orchestrated sound. They do binaural beats, stuff like that. And the majority of those therapies are designed to release stress, right? And that's a positive. That's not a negative. But they're not repairing anything. They're just releasing stress. ByoNetics is a technology. It's not a therapy. is designed to specifically repair that damaged developmental switch, turn it back on so that child can have conversational speech, mental focus, emotional contact, be free of hyperactivity, uh, neutralize the response to loud sounds to where it doesn't hurt their inner ear anymore. It can neutralize tactile issues as it relates to the wearing of clothes or to the sensation of food in the mouth, right? So it's a technology. There's a big difference. It's not a therapy. What ByoNetics does, by connecting the brain to the specific software, the software can instruct the brain on how to develop speech, emotional contact, and mental focus, how to neutralize hyperactivity, how to uh, deal with loud sounds and provide grounding so the child can function in a proper reality. Because in a proper reality, that child responds to the therapies. They can benefit from the therapies. They receive their education, develops relationships, and eventually become successful in society. Right? All that comes from technology, right? Not therapy. Right? You measure the response of ByoNetics by the child's response to their therapies. Like when I have parents all the time who come to me, they've spent over $100,000 a year in therapies for their child with very little to show for that kind of therapy, for that kind of expense. Uh, and it's not the therapy's fault. You can develop speech, emotional contact, and mental focus. Uh, you can develop emotional contact, neutralize hyperactivity, stuff like that. But uh, that only works when that brain is connected to its software, because the software instructs the brain on how to develop speech, emotional contact, and mental focus. Right? How to ground yourself to the physical body so you can neutralize that stress. Right? All of those things are a response to ByoNetics technology. Right? That's how it's measured, is by the the better the child speaks, the better the program's working. The less hyperactivity, the better ByoNetics is working. The more emotional contact in a proper reality, the better ByoNetics is working. Right? And you have to, in the Western mind, if you will, we believe that if you spend more money, you're going to get a better result in a shorter period of time. Well, that's not always the case, especially with ByoNetics. The reason that we spend a lot of time making ByoNetics as available as we can financially, right? Because if you want the full power of the program, you can buy the 10 CDs for $545.50, or you can finance it. There's a lot of ways that we can help you get into this technology, right? But you have to be able to uh, uh, have that technology available to use. You have to be able to have that technology to where it can be simply used, because if it if it involves a lot of time, parents will only use it for a couple of times and then they'll disregard it, right? So you have to be able to uh, have that affordable. And the main reason that I do that is because I'm one of the oldest members of the autistic community that's free of my symptoms. But I was one of the first children ever defined with autism in the United States. Uh, Back then, there were no services for autism, right? And the cost was, in my situation, the cost was exorbitant because I developed grand mal seizures, so I was in and out of the hospital on a weekly basis, 2 or 3, sometimes 4 times. My dad had to work 3 jobs, and he got up at 3:30 in the morning to deliver milk. At 8 o'clock, he left to go install window glass in cars. At 4 o'clock, he left to go work on the railroad, of which he eventually became a mechanical engineer. But he did this for years to offset the cost of finding out about how I responded to autism and what that was all about. A lot of what we know and understand now about autism is because of my parents' uh, commitment to me eventually being well, and they paid dearly for that. We, my parents came back from World War II. My grandfather built him a free and clear home. By the time that I was born, 4 months after I was born, they had to sell that home and moved into a converted officers' barracks after World War II. Uh, they lost a lot because of their commitment to making me better. Right. So we've all benefited from that. But it's my parents would turn over in their grave if they thought that I was abusing people financially. I know, programs that charge way too much money for the benefit involved. Right? If you're gonna spend a lot of money, then there ought to be a lot of payoff, a lot of benefit within a short period of time. Right? Uh, ByoNetics is probably the least expensive technology out there for the most amount of results in the least amount of time for the least amount of money spent. We had a marketing company when we first offered ByoNetics back in 2004, just to look at the different therapies. They looked at ABA, they looked at speech, behavior, occupational therapies. Those were running about $250 an hour. They looked at different programs. You have Tomatis, which hopes to balance the inner ear so the brain can connect to speech, that kind of a thing. But the prices are exorbitant as far as these technologies are concerned, these therapies are concerned. And we had to make it, ByoNetics, available to the most amount of people in the shortest period of time. So we were always concerned about cost. Right? If you took all the therapies that are out there for autism and you divide them by the number available, you would probably have an average of around $3,000 per therapy for 14 days. Right? That's kind of the data that you would pull from that. Well, the problem is that for $3,000 for 14 days, you're not going to receive very much or any of a response because it's too soon to create one. But the cost involved is something that they collect before they ever start the program. So you have to be aware of those. You have to be able to look at what that therapy has done. Like with ByoNetics, we've posted over 1,300, now close to 1,400 parent responses to the program. The average is 3, right? Because we're measured by our success, right? It's the only way to measure any type of technology or therapy is by its success. If you're paying a lot of money and you're not getting the success, well, then something's wrong as far as the formula is concerned. So ByoNetics at $545.50 for the program is more than affordable. And if it's financially unattainable right now, well, then you can finance that program. If that's not a situation, well, then we can work something else out. Our goal is to let you experience ByoNetics for the least amount of money for the most amount of result. That's our goal. So if we can be of any help, please get in touch, 1-800-280-2802. And we're on the East Coast in Florida. We'd be more than happy to hear from you. If you're looking at our website at byonetics.org, please take the opportunity to fill out the questionnaire, email it to us so we can determine how we can best serve you as far as ByoNetics is concerned. Thank you very much. Leroy and I say goodbye. You guys take care. Bye-bye.